You ever have that feeling where something's off, but you can't quite put your finger on it? Like a loose floorboard in your gut that creaks every time she says, "Nothing's wrong, babe." Yeah. That was the start. We'd been married for 11 years. Solid ones, mostly. Not perfect, we're human, not Hallmark. But we had our thing. Inside jokes, shared playlists, late-night Costco runs. The kind of relationship where you both know how the other takes their coffee and what song to skip in a road trip shuffle. Things started shifting a few months back. Subtle at first. She got snippy over nothing, started needing space a little more often, and suddenly her phone was a damn national secret. Password changes, silent mode all day, face down like it had something to be ashamed of. I chalked it up to stress. Work had been insane for both of us. We were snapping at each other more. Sex had slowed down to the pace of a dial-up modem, and she started going out with the girls more often than usual. Still, I didn't panic. You don't jump to cheating right away, not when you're married. You give them the benefit of the doubt. That's what love's supposed to do, right? But something didn't sit right. It wasn't the arguments, or the cold shoulder, or even the forgot to text back nights. It was the way she stopped laughing at my jokes. That, weirdly, is what made my radar go full DEFCON. So I did what I never thought I'd do. I started paying closer attention. Not snooping, not yet. But watching, listening, waiting. And that's when the real show began. It was a Thursday. Nothing special, laundry day, leftover chili in the fridge, one of those we're just keeping the lights on kind of days. She was in the shower. Her phone buzzed on the kitchen counter. Now, let me be clear, I don't go through her phone. That was our unspoken rule. But I also don't ignore a message that lights up the screen with, "Can't stop thinking about last night." That emoji hit me like a brick to the teeth. I didn't open it. I didn't have to. The contact name was Maya, which I already knew was a lie because her best friend is named Stephanie and she hates anyone named Maya. I once suggested we name our dog Maya and she said, and I quote, "Ugh, no. That name's cursed." So now Maya is dropping devil emojis? Right? She came out of the shower wrapped in a towel, singing some stupid pop song like she hadn't just shattered reality with a single vibration. I just stared at her. She didn't notice. Too busy plucking her eyebrows in the mirror, humming. That night I couldn't sleep. My head was a damn carousel of questions. Who's Maya? What happened last night? What am I supposed to do? Ask her outright? Set a trap? I started noticing more. She kept that phone closer than her own shadow. Laughed at texts she wouldn't show me. Said Maya's hilarious with that too sweet tone women use when they're halfway lying but still trying to convince themselves they're not. So I made a choice. I'd get the truth one way or another. But I wasn't going to jump in blind. The spark had been struck. Now I was just waiting for the fire. The fire came quicker than I expected. Saturday night, she told me she was going to a low-key wine night at her coworker Jenna's place. Jenna, who I'd met once and remembered mostly because she smelled like Axe body spray and vape juice. Whatever. I nodded. Kissed her cheek. Said, have fun. She left wearing her low-key wine night outfit, which apparently now included heels, a push-up bra I hadn't seen since Obama was in office, and enough perfume to stun a moose. I didn't say a word. Just watched her walk out the door like it was nothing. Around 11:45, I got curious. I texted, all good. No response. Midnight rolled in like fog. Still nothing. At 12:30, I called straight to voicemail. And now, the floorboard in my gut was doing cartwheels. At 1:22 a.m., I saw her location on the Find My app. We'd both forgotten we still had connected. Not Jenna's house. Not even the same zip code. She was downtown, near a boutique hotel we'd stayed at once for our anniversary. A place that had mirrored ceilings and bath bombs shaped like fruit. She came home at 3:06 a.m. looking flushed. Her hair was a mess, makeup smudged, and her smile was a little too relaxed. Like she'd been on vacation. She walked in holding Taco Bell like it was a peace offering and whispered, "You're still up." I asked how wine night was. She said, "Oh, it was chill. Jenna's place is so cute. We played the dumb charades game you hate." She laughed like I should be jealous. I asked if she went anywhere else. Her eyes darted left a microsecond, but I caught it. Nope, just there. Liar. Smooth, confident, but still a liar. And I sat there on the couch, nodding, chewing through that lie like it was barbed wire. I wasn't ready to blow it all up, not yet. I wanted more. Proof. Something undeniable. That night, I laid next to her, listening to her breathe, wondering how many times I'd missed this, how many lies had slipped past me dressed as jokes or shrugs. The fire was burning now, and I wasn't walking away until I had the truth in my hands, even if it scorched me. 3 days later, the universe handed me a gift. She left her laptop open. Rookie mistake. She was in the shower again, where all great betrayals seem to marinate, and I walked by the kitchen just in time to hear that little ding. iMessage syncing like it was on a mission from God. The name? You guessed it, Maya. Now, I know what some people might say, don't snoop, be the bigger person. And to that I say, when your spouse is lying to your face and doing God knows what downtown at 1 a.m., the moral high ground can go take a hike. I clicked. What I saw hit harder than I expected. Maya, last night was insane. I still can't believe you actually left his bed to come over flush face. Her, LOL, I know. He's been so checked out lately he didn't even notice. I needed a real man for once. A real man. That one stung. There were more messages. Descriptions. Details. None of them vague. All of them graphic. At one point, Maya sent a gif of someone getting spanked and she responded, haha yep, exactly. I sat there staring at the screen, half frozen. Not with rage, rage would have been easier. What I felt was something quieter and deeper. Like watching someone you love slowly become a stranger. She came out of the shower, towel on her head, scrolling through Instagram like the world was sunshine and unicorns. I closed the laptop gently. Didn't say a word. I didn't know what my next move was yet. But I knew this much, there was no coming back from this. Not without war. Not without truth. And definitely not without a few bruises on both sides. She lied. She kept lying. And worst of all, she wasn't even good at it anymore. I waited until Sunday. Why Sunday? Because I'm not an idiot. She always slept in on Sundays and I needed time to lay it all out, emotionally prep for the fallout and make sure I didn't end up saying something I'd regret more than marrying her. So I brewed coffee like everything was fine. Played it cool. Hell, I even made her toast avocado with a sprinkle of chili flakes, just how she liked it. She came downstairs in one of my old t-shirts like she hadn't been texting about getting railed by some dude who apparently met her standards for real man. We ate in silence. I sipped my coffee. She scrolled TikTok. Then I set my mug down and said, calm as you like. Hey, who's Maya, really? She froze. You could see her brain buffering. The TikTok audio kept playing, some teenager screaming about iced coffee, but she wasn't hearing it anymore. She's a friend from work, she said. Line number 1, delivered with all the confidence of a kid holding a broken vase behind their back. Cool, I said. Just wondering why Maya's texting you about sneaking out of our bed to get a real man. That part's been bugging me. Now, here's where things got theatrical. Her face dropped. Not guilt, defensiveness. Instantly. Like I was the one who'd done something wrong. Why are you reading my messages? That's so messed up. I let out a laugh. Not a loud one, just a short, bitter chuckle. The kind that says, oh honey, we're past that stage now. Yeah, sure. Let's talk about privacy. Right after you tell me how many nights you've been sneaking out for cocktails and dick. Boom. Gloves officially off. She stood up, arms crossed, going full soap opera. You clearly don't trust me. That's the real issue here. You've been distant for months. I felt alone. And Maya's just someone I vent to. Funny, I said, your version of venting comes with gifts and spanking references. She stormed off to the bedroom. I didn't follow. I didn't raise my voice. I just sat there, feeling like I'd finally turned on a light in a room I'd been stumbling through for months. The worst part? She still hadn't admitted a damn thing. At that point, I realized something. She wasn't sorry. She was just mad she got caught. About an hour later, she came back downstairs. Mascara streaked like war paint, eyes puffy, and dragging along this dramatic energy like she was the one who got betrayed. She plopped down across from me and opened with a classic. Look, it wasn't what you think. That line should come with a laugh track. I didn't even blink. Just stared at her, waiting for the performance to really get going. And boy, did it. She launched into this convoluted explanation about how Maya was a code name. Yep, we're apparently living in a spy thriller now, and she was actually just venting to a girlfriend who gets her sense of humor. The stuff about sneaking out? Jokes. The texts? Taken out of context. And the real man comment? That was about how you've been emotionally distant. Not physical. You're twisting everything. I swear, if mental gymnastics were an Olympic event, she would have taken gold with that routine. I didn't interrupt. I wanted to see how far she'd go. She kept doubling down. spinning tales like a politician caught on a hot mic, said things like, "I didn't cheat. I just needed connection. And you don't understand how lonely I felt." That one made me laugh. An actual unfiltered laugh. Because yeah, I do understand. I've been lonely too. I just didn't text people about sneaking out of our bed to get laid. So I asked her one question. "Did you sleep with him?" She hesitated. Not long, but just long enough to answer it for me. "No," she said. "I told you. You're making this into something it's not." I nodded. "Cool. Then you won't mind if I reach out to Maya and ask her, right?" Now she panicked. Said I was trying to trap her. That I was manipulating her. That I'd gone nuclear. No, sweetheart. You went nuclear. I just finally started reading the warning signs. By the end of that conversation, I knew exactly what I was dealing with. Not just a cheater, but a liar who thought I was dumb enough to buy the story she hadn't even finished writing. That night was quiet. Not peaceful, more like the silence after a bar fight when the jukebox is still playing and everyone's pretending like someone's teeth aren't on the floor. We didn't talk. She slept in the guest room. I lay in our bed, staring at the ceiling, running mental replays of everything, every lie, every text, every weird girls' night that suddenly made a lot more sense. The next morning, she cracked. Maybe it was guilt. Maybe it was realizing the jig was up. Or maybe she just got tired of trying to juggle lies like flaming swords. She came in, sat on the edge of the bed like someone about to read a will, and said, "Okay. I didn't tell you everything." No kidding. She admitted there was a guy. A coworker. Not Maya. Maya was a cover so she could talk freely. Said it started off innocently, whatever that means. Said he made her feel seen, and that one night, after drinks, things just happened. Things just happened. Like slipping on a banana peel and falling into his bed. I didn't say anything. Just stared at her while she talked, voice trembling, eyes darting, wringing her hands like she was the victim in this. She said it only happened twice. Then once. Then maybe 3 times. She couldn't keep her own math straight. And finally, the kicker, I wasn't trying to hurt you. I just needed something different for a while. Something different. Like an Amazon order she wasn't satisfied with. That's when it hit me, not just the betrayal, but how deep the denial went. She didn't just cheat. She rewrote our whole story in her head to justify it. I became the cold, distant husband. He became the savior. And her? Just a misunderstood wife looking for connection. It would have been laughable if it wasn't so pathetic. I didn't yell. Didn't throw anything. I just said, "I'm gonna need some space." Real space. Not the kind where you sneak out for dick in the middle of the night. She cried. I didn't. Not then. I'd already cried inside for weeks without knowing why. This time I was just empty. She left the house for a few days to give me time. And that was the first moment I felt any kind of peace. Because now the truth was out, and once the truth's out, you can start building something real again. Even if that something doesn't include her. The next few days were eerie. She was gone, staying at her sister's, apparently. The house was quiet, but not in a peaceful way. It was the kind of quiet that echoed. You start noticing things you'd ignored before, the half-empty wine glass still on the shelf, the scent of her shampoo lingering in the bathroom, the drawer she never fully closed. It all felt staged now, like a set piece in a play I didn't audition for. I started talking out loud to myself. Not full conversations, just one-liners like, "So that's how it went down, huh?" Or "Guess I was just the warm-up act." The kind of dark humor you use when you've got a gaping hole in your chest and don't want to admit it. At one point, I found one of her bras under the couch. That detail shouldn't matter, but it did. It was one of those fancy ones, not the Target 3-pack kind. Lace, frilly edges, bright red. The kind you don't wear for comfort, you wear it to be seen. I stared at it for a long minute before tossing it into the closet like it burned my hands. I couldn't eat. Couldn't sleep right either. I'd drift off and wake up with my heart doing laps. Not nightmares, just this vague, heavy pressure, like my body knew before my brain did that everything had changed. The thing is, I wasn't just mourning her. I was mourning us. The us I thought we were. The inside jokes, the road trips, the lazy Sunday mornings with pancakes, and her stealing my bacon when she thought I wasn't looking. Turns out I was looking, I just didn't want to see. And then I started wondering if she could lie so easily, so fluidly, how much of our past was even real. What other stories had holes I never noticed? Grief's weird like that. It's not always about what you lost. Sometimes it's about realizing what you never really had. Day 5, she came back. Didn't knock. Just walked in like it was still her house, which legally, I guess it was. But emotionally? Different story. She had this tentative look, like a kid who broke a window and came back to ask if they could still play in the yard. She sat on the edge of the couch, same spot where I'd seen the texts. I didn't offer coffee. I didn't even say hi. I've been doing a lot of thinking, she started. Classic opener. Almost textbook. She talked about regret, about how sorry she was, about how she wasn't in her right mind, and how it wasn't who she really is. That line always gets me. Like there's this secret, alternate version of her, the good one, who's been tied up in a closet somewhere, begging not to be misrepresented. She went on. Said she wanted to go to therapy. Said she was willing to do whatever it took to fix this. I'll give you passwords, access to everything, you can track my location, I'll even cut him off completely. Just tell me what you need. What I needed was for it to have never happened. What I got was her turning betrayal into a PR campaign. And look, maybe some part of her was genuinely sorry. But it felt like I was watching someone apologize not because they finally understood the damage, but because they finally saw the fallout. She asked if I still loved her. I didn't answer right away. I didn't want to lie, but I didn't want to say no either. The truth was messy. I loved who I thought she was. I loved her life. But now? I wasn't sure who I was even looking at. I told her I needed more time. Real time. Not a couple days. And not under the same roof. She cried again. And you know what? I didn't feel much. Not out of cruelty. I just didn't trust the tears anymore. Not when they showed up after the truth got caught in a net. She left without a hug, without a kiss, without a promise. Just one last glance, like maybe this was the last time she'd walk out of the house as my wife. And maybe it was. After she left again, something clicked. Not like a switch, more like the slow, deliberate turning of a lock. I started reclaiming space. Tossed out the half-used face masks in the bathroom cabinet. Took her yoga mat out of the living room where it had been gathering dust for 2 years. I even put my shoes back on the rack, the one she always said made the hallway look messy. It wasn't about pettiness. It was about asserting a little control in a life that had recently felt like I'd been handed the remote to someone else's drama. I made a list. Not of pros and cons, not of whether to stay or leave, but of what I wanted. What I needed. Because somewhere along the way, in trying to be understanding, in trying to be the good guy, I'd stopped asking myself that question. Top of the list? Honesty. Not the watered-down version. The real deal. No games, no cryptic half-truths. Just raw, sometimes uncomfortable honesty. Second? Peace. That meant silence when I wanted it, music when I needed it, and nobody else's baggage trying to smother my sanity. Third? A partner who actually respects the difference between a mistake and a choice. Because what she did, that wasn't a slip. That was a series of calculated choices strung together like Christmas lights from hell. And last on the list, though it could have easily been first, was self-respect. Mine. I'd been handing out trust like candy and watching her pocket it without giving anything back. I folded the list, stuck it in my wallet. Not as some dramatic symbol, but because I wanted to keep it close. A reminder. A compass. She might come back. She might cry again. She might start quoting therapists or TED Talks or whatever else makes betrayal sound like a growth opportunity. But the rules had changed. The old me, the one who bent over backward trying to justify her behavior, trying to keep the peace, he'd left the building. And in his place was a man who'd finally remembered he had options. It was a Thursday when she showed up again mid-afternoon unannounced. I'd just finished a Zoom meeting, still in my pajama pants but with a button-down up top because, well, professionalism. She had that same look, part apology, part sales pitch. But this time she wasn't alone. She brought a binder. A binder. I asked, standing in the doorway like a bouncer who'd grown tired of the same guest showing up to the club in a fake mustache. It's everything, she said. The messages. The timeline. What happened, when, how it started. I wanted to lay it all out for you. I raised an eyebrow. This isn't a court case. No, but I figured you deserved the truth. All of it. Not just the parts one tried to manage. Now, here's the weird part, I respected that. Not in the way that makes everything okay, but in the way you respect a drunk who finally admits, yeah, I crashed the car. Late honesty still beats polished lies. She walked in, laid the binder on the coffee table like it was an offering, and sat across from me without making eye contact. I've also booked us a couples therapy consult, she added, just in case. Just in case what? In case you think there's still something worth fighting for. I didn't answer right away. I looked at the binder. It was thick, too thick. Pages and pages of emotional carnage, no doubt. But I appreciated the effort. Even if it was too little, too late, it was something. An act of surrender, maybe. She started to cry again, but it was different this time. Less about guilt, more about fear. Fear of losing what we had. Fear of starting over. Fear of being the villain in someone else's story. And I realized then, I wasn't afraid anymore. Not of being alone. Not of walking away. And not of the truth. The worst had already happened and I was still standing. The binder stayed on the table. She left with no promises, no demands. Just a hope. And me? I sat there staring at the cover, sipping lukewarm coffee, and thinking, maybe this chapter's ending, but the story's not over yet. Just depends on who writes the next page. The next morning I opened the binder. I poured myself a stiff cup of coffee, black, no nonsense, just like my mood, and sat at the kitchen table, the morning sun doing its best to pretend nothing had gone nuclear. The first page was a letter. Handwritten. I know you probably hate me, it started. Strong opener. Always reassuring when someone tries to soften you up for what's about to be a soul kick. She wrote about how things began. Not with a bang, but with a compliment. He told me I seemed unappreciated. That's how it always starts, isn't it? One little crack in the foundation and suddenly the whole house collapses because some guy with decent cologne and a jawline said the right thing at the right time. She outlined dates, places, hotel rooms I'd never heard about, excuses I'd bought without blinking, birthday weekends, office conferences, even that one night she claimed her phone died and she'd fallen asleep at her coworker's place. I read it all, every last detail. Page after page of calculated deception dressed up in flowery explanations about needing to feel alive. And there it was again, the word lonely. Like that somehow justifies setting fire to trust. But buried in the rubble, there was honesty. She admitted she was wrong. She admitted she got addicted to the attention, to the secrecy. Said it made her feel powerful. Said lying to me was the worst part, not the sex, not the sneaking, not even the guilt, but the way she started lying without even thinking. And the kicker? She wrote that she hoped I'd keep the binder. Not so you'll forgive me, she wrote, but so you'll know you're not crazy. That one got me. Because that's what betrayal does, it makes you question your memory, your instincts, your whole damn perception of reality. You start doubting yourself long before you doubt them. I closed the binder. Didn't throw it away. Didn't burn it either. Just set it aside. Because now, for the first time in months, I had the full picture. No more guessing. No more gaslighting. Just the truth, ugly, brutal, and weirdly liberating. And with the truth, I could finally decide what came next. The binder sat on my nightstand for a few days. I didn't touch it again. Didn't need to. Once you've stared into the abyss, there's not much left to analyze. She called, texted, left voicemails that ranged from calm to desperate. One ended with her whispering, "I still love you," like a prayer no one was listening to. I didn't respond. Not because I wanted revenge, not my style. And not because I wanted her to squirm, but because, for the first time in a long time, I wasn't reacting. I was thinking. Feeling, yes, but not drowning in it. There's a weird peace that comes after you've been gutted, the calm that settles in when there's nothing left to tear down. Then came the day I knew I was done. I was out for a walk, just clearing my head, when I passed this older guy watering his lawn. Mid-60s maybe. He waved. I waved back. That was it. Just a simple, neighborly gesture. But for some reason, it hit me. That guy's lived a whole life. Probably been through his own kind of hell. And here he was, peacefully tending to his grass like it mattered. Like the small things still had value. I thought, that's who I want to be. Not the guy who stayed in a broken marriage out of fear or nostalgia. Not the guy constantly wondering if today was another lie. I wanted to be the man who chose peace. Chose self-respect. Chose to rebuild. When I got home, I texted her one line. I'm moving on. No drama. No need to unpack it all again. She'd said her piece. I'd read the playbook. And now it was time for my move. The relief was instant. Heavy but clean. Like shedding a skin I'd been stuck in too long. It wasn't about hating her. It wasn't even about punishing her. It was about choosing me. And it felt damn good. I didn't throw her stuff out in some dramatic fire pit moment like a scene from a bad breakup movie. That's not me. I boxed it up neatly, respectfully, like you'd pack away the belongings of someone who's no longer living in your world. Her favorite mug, the yoga mat, her books that I never read but always pretended to understand. I even folded her hoodies, the ones she used to steal from my side of the closet and claim as hers. All of it went into boxes. No hate, no anger, just closure. She came by to pick it up the next day. No binder this time. No tears. Just a quiet sort of acceptance hanging between us like fog. Do you hate me? She asked, standing at the threshold like a ghost unsure if she should come in. I shook my head. No. But I don't trust you. And I think we both know that's enough. She nodded. Said she understood. Said she hoped I'd find happiness and meant it, I think. That's the weird thing. When the dust finally settles, sometimes even the person who hurt you becomes human again. Flawed, selfish, confused, but human. We didn't hug. Didn't drag out the goodbye. Just a soft, take care, before she walked down the steps with her boxes and her silence. I closed the door behind her and stood there for a while. Not sad. Not relieved. Just still. I'd spent months fighting invisible battles in my head. Questioning every moment, every memory, every word. But now? The war was over. And for the first time in what felt like forever, I could breathe. Not because everything was fixed, but because I was finally free. It's funny how quiet life gets after the storm. The text stopped. The late-night overthinking faded. Even my dreams stopped replaying the betrayal like some bad movie on loop. My mornings became simpler: coffee, silence, no landmines. I started going for walks more. Not the angry, pacing kind. The kind where you actually notice things: neighbors, birds, the way sunlight hits the pavement just right around 6:30 a.m. I reconnected with old friends, fixed the leaky sink she always said I'd get to eventually, and started sleeping better. Deeper. Heavier. Like my mind finally realized it didn't have to keep guard anymore. Looking back, the betrayal doesn't define me. It sharpened me. Made me stop living on autopilot. Made me stop making excuses for bad behavior wrapped in complex emotions. She made choices. So did I. Mine were to trust, to believe, to forgive until I couldn't anymore. Hers were, well, hers. If you asked me now, would you take her back if she truly changed? I'd say no. Not out of bitterness, but out of clarity. Because when someone shows you they're willing to lie to your face repeatedly to protect their comfort at the cost of your sanity, that's not love. That's damage control. The truth is, healing isn't about revenge or even justice. It's about reclaiming your damn story. About standing in your own kitchen one morning, pouring yourself a cup of coffee, and realizing you don't have to second-guess anything anymore. So here's my advice to anyone walking a similar road: trust your gut, don't ignore the creaks in the floorboards, and never let someone gaslight you into doubting your own eyes. Love deeply, forgive wisely, and when the time comes, walk away with your head high and your heart intact. You're stronger than you think. I sure as hell was.